Hello and welcome to this week's BizSmart Lunch and Learn webinar. Our weekly webinars are aimed to provide advice and share knowledge amongst business owners on key business topics and specialist areas. This is part of our service to our Smart Room members. If you are not already a member or a BizSmart client and would like to access our archive of webinars, then please visit our website biz-smart.co.uk and go to the Smart Room page. Our host joining me today is BizSmart founder Kevin Brent. But before we start the webinar, can I ask you all to use the question mark function on your screen to post any questions that you may have for Kevin, and he will answer them all at the end of the session. Thank you, Kevin. Over to you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Caroline. Right, so today's topic is about how to keep the blood pumping in your business. So it's all about something called the meeting rhythm. Most of us probably will be very familiar with this concept of working on our businesses and not in our businesses, and we all know that's what we're supposed to do, and that getting the balance between working in and on your business is critical. But we also know it's not that easy, and it's an easy thing to say and perhaps not an easy thing to do. So how do we make sure that as business owners we keep on top of the day-to-day activities as well as our key strategic priorities, and we make sure that everything is aligned and going in the right direction? And at the heart of the answer to this dilemma is one of the key things is finding an appropriate meeting rhythm for your business. So that's what we're going to look at over the next 20 minutes or so. The concept of the meeting rhythm is outlined in a book called Scaling Up by Vern Harnish and the team at the Gazelles. So if you want to read up a bit more about it, you can find some more information in that book. So we've talked before about scaling up and building value in businesses, and of course meetings alone are not enough to do it. It's the four key pillars really of being able to scale a business come down to having the right strategy, having the right people, executing it in the right way, and keeping tight control of your cash. Good place to start once you've got the strategy in place, and you can refer back to some of our previous webinars that we've got pictures of here to get some more information about some of the other areas, and we will be doing more over the next few weeks. But a good place to start is back at the meeting side of things. The heartbeat of any business is the way that the people and the teams perform and the way they interact together, and that's what keeps the blood pumping effectively around your business. The moment that you take on somebody else in your business and it's more than just you, then structured communication becomes vital to be able to progress that business properly. And when we're talking about meetings, we're not talking about meetings for meeting's sake, and depending on the type of business that you run and also the stage that you're at, the pace of growth that you're going through, then the rhythm will be different. The rhythm of those meetings will be different. So what I'm going to propose through this webinar today is an outline. What you need to do is to make that work within your business and tailor it so that it's structured towards your business. But a well-structured rhythm of daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly and annual meetings is what you need to be looking at doing. And as I say, the actual rhythm will be different depending on the stage that your business is at. So I don't know, but certainly have a think about things in this way. Certainly think of whether any of these things might apply to you. And certainly when I go around to a number of our business clients, quite often a few of these come up as typical issues that business owners will have. So, are you finding that typically with your team you're getting interrupted during the day? They're coming to you asking for advice and solutions on what to do on a regular basis, so you're being interrupted. Do you feel that perhaps you're constantly in firefighting mode within your business? Are things sometimes getting missed? Is information not being shared? Are you finding out a bit late that perhaps somebody knew a vital piece of information that wasn't either shared with you or with some other key member of the team? Are perhaps you missing deadlines, missing targets, and maybe not even realising perhaps until it's too late to do anything about it. Do some people always seem really busy and as if they've got no spare time at all, and yet other people perhaps in your team, even if it's a small team, maybe don't seem quite so busy. So maybe just ask yourself if any of those apply to you. Maybe some others. Maybe from a big picture point of view, you feel that actually it's only you that really can see where the business is going, and other people don't have the same view of the business as you do. So other peaks and troughs are things feeling disorganized sometimes. Is not everybody, maybe everybody aren't completely clear on the priorities, or you're getting sucked into day-to-day activities and unable to spend the time that you know you should do in terms of keeping your head above the parapet and planning the future. So maybe some of those things apply to your business, and certainly, as I say, with the businesses that we deal with, many, or in some cases all of those things, we hear back from business owners that we work with. Well, if that's true, then maybe the meetings and the rhythm of meetings is something that's going to help you, and certainly I can suggest that it would. But before we get into that, you may have a healthy disrespect for the idea of meetings, and certainly any of us that have worked in big corporates, and perhaps in public sector, but it's not just public sector, it's certainly also in big corporates, and different nationalities have different views to meetings, and there's nothing worse than a meeting that is just doesn't get you anywhere and is a waste of time, and having lots of meetings like that just feels like they get in the way of what you're trying to do. So you may hate meetings, you may think that in your business they take up too much time, you don't have the time to do it, maybe it wouldn't work in your business, and you've maybe got a view that meetings are just an excuse to chat. Perhaps one of the other things that we hear about, particularly when we're going to talk about some of the more frequent meetings, is that actually we see each other every day anyway. We're only a small team, there's only 3 or 4 of us, and we're always on top of each other, so why would we need to have a structured meeting? Because if anybody's got an issue or question, then all they do is just ask. So all of these things might be reasons why you don't like meetings, or why the idea may be a bit of a stretch for you. But have a think through, because I would suggest to you that if you stopped and thought about it, that you probably don't like meetings, or you hate the idea of meetings because you've had bad experiences in previous organisations. And normally the sort of issues that we've just looked at could be solved by having a clearer agenda, a clearer purpose of what the meeting's about, the aims of that meeting, what the expected outcomes are. So a well-structured meeting will actually save you time, and if you've got the right rhythm of meetings as well, it will save you time. So instead of being interrupted 20 times a day by somebody coming up to you and asking how to do something, perhaps a short collective meeting at the beginning of the day might well have addressed many of those things. Or if they know that there's an opportunity the following day when there's a 10 or 15 minute slot when you're going to be meeting, that they can save it till then. So that's one of the things. The other thing, though, that doesn't happen with casual sort of one-to-one type things when people come and ask you things, is you lose that element of the collective intelligence, if you like. So it's just you and that one person, whereas actually if you do have a team of people, then harnessing the power of their minds as well together can actually sometimes be really beneficial. You've also got that element of peer pressure, which is lost in just casual encounters by the coffee machine or at your desk or whatever else, in that, you know, there's nothing, there's no competition from somebody else about whether they're doing better or whatever it might be. And also that clear communication. You know, if it's something that you need to communicate to the team, and you're doing it on a one-to-one basis, you know, when people are coming to see you or whatever, then of course that's a lot less efficient than if you've got everybody together. So don't poo-poo the idea of of meetings because of bad experiences in the past, think about how you might make them work to your advantage rather than not opening your mind to the possibility. So let's have a look at this meeting rhythm and what we're talking about here. And there are basically four types of meetings that you want to get in the rhythm of doing, and you can tailor these and use these in a way that suits your business. But the basic principles of these are what you should be thinking of doing. So the first is some kind of daily huddle, and you may have heard of this. This is referred to in different kinds of business books and business documents. You might have heard case studies, heard about scrums. You might have heard them referred to as stand-up meetings. They're part of the Kanban sort of type thing, but they're very, in big business, they are very common with teams of people. And all it is really is a stand-up meeting. It shouldn't be any more than 10 minutes. So 5 to 10 minutes is ideal. And it's about tactical issues and updates. And it's really, the primary purpose is to overcome roadblocks. And we'll look at the structure of each of these meetings, or at least the first three, in a little bit more detail later on in this webinar. But that's the basic thing. So it's a quick, short, sharp meeting to make sure there's nothing that's going to come up in the next working day, in that day, that is going to get in the way and cause a roadblock that somebody might be stuck with. And there's a couple of other things that you can do with it too, but that's a key purpose of it. The weekly team meeting is something that I would guess that most of you are doing. Certainly when we go around businesses, the weekly one is what most people seem to do, and they use it as a kind of a key account management, key client management type session. So that's fine, and that's good. So that's the one that people do. It is also, ideally, what we should be doing is reviewing our progress based on our quarterly priorities. So we're doing the strategy stuff that, as I say, we address in other webinars and things. But if you're looking quarter by quarter at the key things that you're trying to do, then the weekly meeting should also be used to see how we're doing, what progress we're making against those. But this is, again, this is probably, although it says 60 to 90 minutes I've put there, when we're talking about the SMEs, the small businesses that we would typically work with, it doesn't need to be any more than 60 minutes. If you've got a bigger company, then maybe. And these are team meetings, so these are smallish numbers of people in your teams reviewing that progress. But it's also an opportunity to pick up market intelligence and share that amongst the team. And again, there should be a structure to that, so we'll look at an agenda for it in a moment. The next one is monthly. Now, many businesses don't do this. Again, I think most business owners would say they know they should effectively have a board meeting, whether there's just the one of you, people have heard me talk about it before, or even there's just one of you, you should have a board meeting with yourself really every month. But the monthly meetings are a crucial way of keeping track of the key metrics of the business, and you probably are looking at a half day, even for small businesses, certainly 2 to 3 hours. But you want to look at the key metrics of the business. But you also want to think about picking a key issue or a key priority to address for the next month. So that's a key one. And finally, the quarterly and the annual meetings. So then I've grouped those together. But ideally, you should be having a once a quarter meeting to review how you're doing against the quarter and your annual planning. Now, again, most business owners would certainly say that they know they should annually have a look back at how the year's gone, and then set themselves up in terms of the next year and the planning and the focus for the next year. And I would say a good chunk of business owners do that, not all by any means. The quarterly, though, is a useful way, again, of helping to keep on track for that annual meeting. So that, again, it's a bit more strategic than the monthly. You might still do some of the reviews and the numbers, but it's also a bit more strategic and just saying, hang on, we're now either one quarter of the way through the year or maybe half the way through the year. Is it going as we thought it would when we planned it at the beginning of the year? What do we need to change to make sure that we either get back on track or address any trends or whatever might be happening, or even opportunities that might be happening within our sector, within our market. So, but it's also a good opportunity quarterly to set a kind of quarterly theme. So you might focus on something specific for that next quarter, whether it be improving margins or whether it be on one of your core values or whatever it might be, but set a quarterly theme. So those are the four general types of meetings. Now I'm going to apologise for this slide. It's very much a consultant looking type slide, but it's all right because we've got a chicken in it, so it must be all right. But this is really just trying to show that, and I've just turned those meetings up the other way to show that this is how we're linking the strategy with the execution. Because what we've got here, we start at the top with the annual stuff. That is all about setting strategy. So hopefully we've got our long-term aims, we've got our 10 to 15 year horizon, but we've got our 3-year plan, but we've got our annual target. So we start with our annual at the top there. So that annual meeting is setting the idea is to set the strategic direction and the priorities. The quarterlies that we've just spoken about, break those down, break the annual priorities and direction into bite-sized priorities that we can do per quarter. The idea of the monthly then is to address some of the bigger issues or opportunities that arise while we're actually implementing our strategy and making sure that we're on target with the basic numbers and we're keeping a handle on the basic running of the business. The weeklies then keep priorities top of mind as well, but ensure that we're still bringing discussion around customer, employee, and competitors, but we feed into the monthly and the quarterly sessions. And then the daily huddle tracks that progress on a daily basis, keeps a finger on the pulse, and raises and removes any roadblocks that might be there that are stopping it. So that's the idea. So that's that flow, that cascade down from the strategy right the way down to the day-to-day stuff. And this is where a lot of small business, a lot of us struggle with actually doing that. We may well do a strategy session and work out where we're trying to get to, but then in terms of how do we actually implement that on a day-to-day basis and not just get sucked back into the business, that's where we fall down. So this is a structure that helps to do that. So, and you can see on the left there with my arrows, we've got more strategic towards the top, more tactical towards the bottom, but it's linking that strategy and execution. And the arrow on the other side, we've got increasing frequency of meeting, obviously down from the top to the bottom. So there you go. There's my one consultancy sort of type slide. But as I say, we got chicken in it, so it's all right. So let's have a look a little bit more at each of these. So here we go with the daily huddle. So the typical agenda for that, it should only have 3 questions. As we said before, it's 10 or 15 minutes, and actually you should probably really only allow a minute or 2 per person. So if you've got a small team of 5 people, it's probably only going to take you 5 or 10 minutes, and it should be really specific. So what's key today? What's the focus that I'm trying to do today? What's my key outputs and goals for today? And where might you be stuck? So if you get each team member just to answer those three questions, that'll keep it nice and specific and tight. And then if you've got an issue that needs help, then the idea is to quickly find a way that's going to be sorted. So it might be, right, well then you need to hook up with so-and-so, who'll take you through it later. But it's not a big discussion. You're not going to spend half an hour here trying to solve these roadblocks. You're going to raise them, and you're going to propose a way forward that perhaps is outside of that meeting. So ideally you do these at the same time every day to fit in with the business. Doesn't have to be at the beginning of the day. It could be in the middle of the day when the right people are in, but it should be the same time. And as with all of these 4 types of meetings for the meeting rhythm, you should schedule it, and it should be regular. Because if you don't actually have it in the calendars and people get used to it and become a habit, it won't happen. We all know that it'll happen. Even if you think it's a good idea, it'll happen for a little bit, and then it'll start to get lost. It should be in the same place, ideally. It doesn't really matter where it is, because you're going to be standing up. You shouldn't be sitting down. So it could be in your room as the business owner, or it could be in the hallway, or it could be in the meeting room. It doesn't really matter, but set up a place that's good to have it in the same place. Start on time, whatever time you decide to start, whether or not everybody's there, so that people get used to the fact that it will happen, and it is short and sharp, so it doesn't drag on. And as I said, plan a minute or 2 for each person. If you've got remote workers, then by all means dial them in by whatever you like to use, whether it be by conference calling or whether it by Skype or whatever else. You can use this for remote working as well. It doesn't have to be physically together, but it's that quick update. Make sure you're all focused for the day. Keep it tight on the timing, and where necessary, suggest that you take things offline if it looks like that's going to get bogged down in that discussion, because you don't want these to go on. And as the person running it, could be you running it, or you could dedicate it to somebody else to run it, but they need to keep control of that at that time. And it's not a rambling meeting. It shouldn't be, this is what I did yesterday. I had 6 meetings, and we met with this client and we discussed that. It's not that. It's got to be really specific about what you're trying to do and what might get in the way of the day. So that's the daily huddle. And businesses that I know that have implemented this, as I say, even if they've only got small teams, this really helps. If you can get in the habit of doing this, it just saves so much time in the rest of the day, but it also gives clarity and focus to everybody for that day. It is a really good thing to do, and the majority of businesses don't do it. So that's that one. The weekly one, as I say, most business owners do have a formal weekly meeting. So chances are you're probably already doing this or something along these lines. So here's a proposed agenda for those that you may be doing some or all of these things, but if not, then have a think about it, whether it would fit. But ideally, this is up to about 60 minutes, as we said, for most small businesses. Start with what's gone well. Just have a round of what's gone well this week. Have a look at progress against key priorities. So you may well have already, you should have established already what your key focuses are. So have a look at how you're doing against those key priorities. Bring in some feedback. Use this as an opportunity to bring back some feedback from customers and employees. So use this as a way of making sure that you're keeping on top of trends that might be happening. So if you've got people that are customer facing, which presumably you will have, get them to feedback as to what they've learned during that week, or anything that particular that's come up. But also from employees, maybe there's stuff going on that you need to be aware of. So that's one key part of the weekly meeting. But also focus on a key topic. So it might be that you've got something coming up. It might be a major event that's coming up, or it might be that actually there's something that you've been working on as a team that you need to focus on. So agree in advance what that topic is going to be, and then use the collective power of the team to do that. So and make sure with all of these you capture the actions. For the weekly meeting, you want to set up yourself a little smart action template with what, who, and when, so that you capture the actions. With the daily huddle, the one we just talked about a minute ago, you don't take meetings for that. Nobody should be writing anything down with that. It's too quick and sharp for that. But with this one, you do want to capture some key takeaways, some key actions, but also finish it by asking each individual for their key takeaway from that meeting, or a one phrase close, as sometimes it's called. So this one is very much in your teams. So that's the weekly meeting. And yeah, fine. There's Biz with his smart actions. So that's the what, the who, and the when by. If you just make up yourself a little sheet like that, just on an A4 bit of paper, just a little table, and then somebody can keep track of that. So forget the idea of longhand minutes or whatever else, and writing up what people said and Jeff did this and whatever else. Just capture what needs to be, the actions that need to be done, who's going to do them, who's responsible for doing it, and when that is due by, when they're expected to do it. And if you did that after all of these meetings, made sure that is circulated and people understand what their actions are, then you can quickly look at those, perhaps in your daily meetings, but certainly less so in the daily meeting. It should really be the following weekly meeting that you might do that. So that's the weekly. The monthly is taking that a step further. So we're still going to do the what's gone well. We might build in the what's not gone so well as well. In fact, you could add that to your weekly one as well if you wish. But this is where we're starting to say, how are we doing against our quarterly theme or focus? So if we've set that theme for the month, for the quarter rather, we've said, I don't know, let's work on improving our gross margin as that quarterly theme. This is where we'll be looking at that as to how we're doing with this month against that quarterly theme. If we're also last month would have identified the focus for this month, a key focus for improvement, and that's a really good thing to do in these monthly meetings. Is each month identify something that you're going to improve. And you'll see it's later down on this agenda as well. So if we look at last month's and say, yeah, how do we do against that? We can wrap that up. But then you're also going to use this meeting to just review the key performance indicators, the key numbers. So ideally, and I've spoken about this before, and it's a topic for another session, but you should have a handful of key performance indicators for the key aspects of your business. So certainly the financials, but also your sales itself. Your marketing, the more operational side, so that the doing whatever you do within your business, whether it's manufacturing or service, some team KPIs, some around stability, which would include things like not being over-reliant on one particular customer or individuals or suppliers, whatever that might be, but a few other things in there as well, and some leadership KPIs. So you want to have a handful of key performance indicators that you would review at these meetings, and that's keeping it on top of your business and making sure that nothing's getting missed. But then, as I say, that's key focus for improvement. So if we want to improve our onboarding process this month, for example, because we've been recruiting, we're going to recruit some more, and we know that actually we haven't got a very good process for onboarding, then maybe that's something that we work on. Or maybe our lead generation process isn't working as well as we'd like to, so that's going to be our focus for improvement. So let's workshop that for 30 minutes or an hour within this meeting. Remember, this meeting is typically a half day type meeting, certainly 3-hour type meeting. So build in a sensible amount of time for actually workshopping and improving a key process. And then you're going to wrap it up by confirming the priorities for this month and the key takeaways again. So a structure like this will basically keep you on top of the day-to-day running of the business, but month by month. So you've kept on top of the key numbers, but you've also moving the business on by addressing a focus for improvement, whether it be an issue, something that's broken or not working very well, or whether it's something you just simply think that you can improve, make better, work faster or cheaper or whatever it might be. So that's the monthly. Now, I'm not going to go into the quarterly and the annuals because that would take up too much time for now. But certainly the idea of your quarterly meetings are to establish the theme for that next quarter, or if it's the annual for the year, what the key priorities are. You're going to review your business against the 4 key strategic priorities for scaling up and building value in business, which are around the strategy, the people, the execution, and the cash. You're going to build in some similar structure for the monthly, because you are still going to want to review the way the quarter's gone, if it's the quarter meeting, or if it's the annual meeting. You're going to want to have a look at the figures over the whole year before you set your goals and your targets for the next year. And a really good thing to do, certainly on an annual, but ideally on a quarterly, is an update for all employees, whether you want to call that a town hall type meeting or whatever else, but build into that a 45-minute update. So what I haven't addressed too much is who's involved in these meetings, because most of us are dealing with small businesses where we've only got a relatively small team of people, and it might be that all of these meetings involve everybody, except that the quarterly and the annual would typically involve your senior management team. You wouldn't necessarily involve everybody within those. So as you go up from the daily huddles up towards the annual and the quarterly and the annual meetings, the people that you would have in those meetings get more senior, or you reduce the numbers effectively. So if you are running a bigger business and you've got either a board of directors or you've got senior managers, leaders that are in charge of different parts of the business, then they're the people that would be involved in the quarterly and the annual strategic planning meetings. But you would still want to give an update to the rest of the employees and try and find a way to build that in so that everybody is kept informed as to where things are going. So those are a bit more detail. That's a bit more detail on the key types of meetings, so the meeting rhythm. And as I say, you would want to set the right rhythm for your own business and work out how that might fit in. But those are the general sort of principles of what you might be trying to do. Meetings can still go wrong. We talked earlier on about some of those, but you do need to watch out, even if you're following the structure perhaps of these. But watch out for meetings getting hijacked. I mentioned earlier, if somebody does start to ramble on about how clever they've been yesterday or last week or whatever else in the daily huddles, you've got to be quite clear about taking that offline and saying that's not for this meeting. Equally, if somebody's got a really meaty issue that needs discussing, that the daily huddle is not the time for that. So again, that needs to be taken offline out of that meeting, or it needs to be escalated up to the weekly team meeting or something like that. But don't allow any of the meetings to get hijacked by things that are off agenda. So keep to your agenda, keep to the timing. Nothing worse than people turning up late for meetings, so that the ones that are on time have got to wait 10 or 15 minutes before it starts, and equally running on too long. So set the times and keep to those times. Make sure you have the right people at those meetings. I've just started to talk a second ago just about the different types of people at those meetings, but make sure you've got the key people. So if you are trying to make decisions within that meeting, which of course every meeting really should be about having some action to move forwards, make sure you've got the right people in that meeting. One of the challenges of the daily huddle is people not being specific enough. So if you've got, it's no good somebody saying I've got 3 client meetings today, or that's my focus for today. It should be I've got three meetings I've got with ABC, whatever it is I've got with XYZ company and with TUV or whatever, right? I've got those 3 companies, and I'm meeting Jeff and I'm meeting Jim and I'm meeting Sarah, so that if that's what they're updating with, then somebody else in the team, if they've got some information about those people, they go, oh, actually, yeah, I've got something I can pitch in with that. But if it's just I'm meeting 3 people, it's no use to anyone. So be specific in those, and make sure that all your meetings are action focused, so that as a result of that meeting, something's changed and something is done, rather than just being a meeting for meeting's sake. So there are just some ways that meetings can go wrong and to watch out for. So really, that's pretty much wrapping up what I wanted to say today. So as we said right at the very beginning, we all know that we want to be working on our businesses a bit more than we have been, and trying to balance that working on rather than working in our business. We know we have to do that if we want to scale up our businesses. So what I've proposed here is a structure or a rhythm of 4 types of meetings: your daily, your weekly, your monthly, and your quarterly / annual meetings, as a way to help you to start to bridge that gap between the strategy and the tactics, and be able to work a bit more on your business. So that is all I have. So I don't know if we've got any questions. Thank you very much for listening.
Great, thank you very much, Kevin. Let's see if you've got any questions coming through. Yeah, we've got your first one's from Stuart, and he asks, what is the right rhythm for a rapidly growing business, and how would it change?
What is the right rhythm for rapidly growing? How would it change? Well, I think that the thing there is that you've got, depending on how fast your business is, you might want to be spending more time on some of these meetings, but you never want to get to be spending more than about 10% of the week on meetings. That would be huge, really, if we're doing that. So, but it's just a simple thing of the frequency. If you really have rapidly growing and lots of different challenges, you might well split off into different teams, and the different teams would have their own huddles and their own weekly meetings rather than become one. So it just depends on what suits your business, really, and it also depends on, some of us have flexible working people with us who don't necessarily come in 9 to 5 or whatever not that I think many of us run a 9 to 5 kind of type business, but might not have set hours. So finding that rhythm and that right time that suits your business is key. And so there we go. Hope that answers your question, Paul.
Great, thank you. Next one, Hayley is asking, does the daily huddle have to be at the start of the day?
Thanks, Hayley. Good question. It doesn't have to be. No, it needs to be at a time when you've got the right people in and you can do it. My personal preference is if you can do it at the beginning of the day, that works really well, because it literally is then what's up today that we can work on. If you do it middle of the day, it's a little bit feels a little bit out of sync, but if that's what works for your business, because that's when you've got people in. If you know everybody's in by 11 o'clock, then maybe that's the time to do it. But find what works best for your business.
Okay, thank you. Next question is from John, and he asks, should I wait until I have a strategy sorted before getting into my meeting with them?
Okay, that's a really good question, because ideally you do have the big picture sorted and then you can work out the meeting structure and doing it. But of course we know in practice business doesn't really work like that, and what would probably happen is we would then not do anything for a long time until we got, I don't know, maybe we're going to book a strategy session or something. So the short answer is don't wait. Start these meetings now, because it doesn't really matter if you haven't got all your strategy sorted to start with, because if you discipline yourself into doing this, and when things don't quite work, it'll take you a little while to get the rhythm right and to get these working properly for your business. So you'll learn as you go, and then you can feed in the strategy when you do it. But you will get so much benefit out of having this kind of structure quickly, because things will come up, topics will be raised, and you can decide whether they're a priority or not. Just get on and just go on and do it. Just do it, I think is the phrase to use. Somebody must have come up with that phrase before, tongue in cheek. Actually, no names like Nike.
Great.
All right.
I think that's all the questions for you at the moment. So thank you again, Kevin, for hosting today's webinar. I will be sending out a copy of the presentation and Kevin's contact details out to you all very shortly. But before we close, just a quick reminder, this webinar is part of our service to our Smart Room members. And if you're not already a member or a BizSmart client and would like to access our archive of webinars, then please do visit our website, biz-smart.co.uk, and go to the Smart Room page. We hope you enjoy the rest of your day and that you can join us again soon. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much.